Hi, you're listening to our new show, Gaming Politics, with Matt and Chris. I'm Chris. It's my
I'm
partner,
Matt.
Matt. Yeah.
Hey, how you guys
And,
doing?
yeah, doing good. We're gonna get deep into a lot of politics, a lot of stuff going on in the world today. And, it's something that we've talked about doing. And, we since we kind of took a break from doing a lot of other stuff, we originally had our gaming discussions, movies, and other stuff we tried in the past. We decided that let's give it a shot. Let's talk about politics, current events. I think it's something we talk about a lot, anyways, and I just think it'd be interesting. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of political shows out there, but most of them slant one way or the other. Full disclosure, I myself am a somewhat of a libertarian conservative. I am not a Republican. Do not call me that. I may have voted Republican, but you know what? There really wasn't much any other options out there at the time.
Yeah.
We're gonna try and stick to current events as much as possible, but we may go in other directions from time to time as well. But we don't want to try and do just hate filled spewing type of podcasts. I hate those. I don't want just
Yeah.
screw all the Democrats. They're all a bunch of nothing but a bunch of child murder. No, I don't want to do that kind of crap. Or screw the Republicans. They hate women. No, we're not going to do that either. We're going to take an honest look at politics and try and sift through the bullcrap.
Yep, and not only that, but we also plan on having guests join our show. Periodically, we may decide to. So anybody listening to the show, if you're interested in joining in on our discussions, we'll actually post about our topics ahead of time, and we'll probably be creating. I'm thinking we're going to probably create a new channel or a new page on Facebook, so you'll be able to see us, and then just try to keep it simple.
Everything will be posted at admiraljoker.com once I get it back up and running, which should be soon. For the time being, everybody can go to arkham.dlinkddns.com. That's just a direct DDNS address to my web server. I'll post it up when we post the show and post it on Facebook as well, so everybody can use that link.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll be on YouTube, and we'll have the link in the comments.
Of course.
Whatever, so.
All right, so let's get this ball rolling, shall we? Now, and unless you've been living under a rock for the past week, you're pretty much everybody is aware of Phil Robertson of Duck Dynasty's recent comments regarding homosexuality. Phil Robertson, for those that don't know, is the patriarch of the Robertson family, the owner of Duck Commander. Duck Dynasty is a very popular show on A&E, probably one of the highest rated, if not highest rated shows on Duck Dynasty are on A&E. And you can't go to a Walmart without seeing tons of their merchandise. In fact, there aren't many stores I can go to and not see Duck Dynasty merchandise. It is everywhere.
They even have a chia pet. So
yes, they even have a chia pet. Well, Phil Robertson recently did an interview with GQ magazine. While he was doing the interview, Phil Robertson is a Christian man. If you watch the show, they're a very strong Christian family. Like other Christians, he views homosexuality as a sin. It's not a slight on Christians or anything like that, but it is a part of many of the several Christian beliefs believe in that. Mm-hmm. Well, he made a comment that homosexuals essentially live in sin, and may have also compared homosexuality to bestiality.
Yeah, and mentioned vagina. I don't know why you wouldn't want vagina instead of assholes or something like that.
It seems like to me a vagina as a man would be more desirable to a man's anus.
Yeah,
or than a man's anus.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. I'm thinking there's more. She's got more to offer. I mean, come on, dudes. You know what I'm saying? But hey, sin. It's not logical, my man. It's not logical. So, that's a quote from Phil Robertson, not me. Right. Oh, by the way, I'm citing the story version of the story. I'm reading to The Blaze, by the way. So A&E decided to put him on hiatus, and ever since then, the internet's been ablaze about this whole thing. You know, there's been a huge uproar about how this is a violation of his First Amendment rights. Well, conversely, there has recently been another story recently about a bakery in Colorado. Are you aware of this one, Chris?
Yeah, I remember this story.
The bakery in Colorado, they got in trouble for not for not making a wedding cake for a gay couple. They took them to court. I believe they even were told to make the cake or potentially face fines. This is a private business. Now, they're claiming that at the same time that it's my freedom of religion, it's my religious belief that I don't serve these people. I don't believe in it. I don't want to make the cake. You shouldn't force this down our throats. Now, personally, I don't know about you. I agree with somewhat what A&E did and with what these people did. But at the same time, what they did to the people in Colorado is a First Amendment issue. What's going on with Phil Robertson is not a First Amendment issue. Now, there are laws on the books that prevent you from being fired because of your religious beliefs. That's true. But that's not a First Amendment right. Because it's not the government forcing this on you. The other one is the government forcing it on you.
Yeah, I love how people are just so... This just shows the true ignorance of America, that a lot of people don't understand what really the First Amendment is. They're all First Amendment, First Amendment. I'm like, guys... And honestly, I didn't even comment. I didn't even make a single post, reference, or comment on my Facebook page personally. I've commented on others who've talked about it, like my brother and I think yours. But and the reason why I didn't is because, like you, I'm kind of torn. But and I don't believe A&E was necessarily in the wrong.
I think it's a bullshit move. I really do.
Yeah, it's a dick move.
He wasn't on the show saying this. If he was on the show at an A&E presser and he went and said this, yeah, you're on the A&E clock. You screwed up. You should not have said this. This is similar to what, I forgot the basketball player's name, the one that said no homo. Yeah, you were on the clock when you said it. Guess what? You got in trouble for it. You got fined.
Right.
Also, there's Dan Cathy, the owner of the CEO of Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, right?
You know, the whole comment they made about his belief he's against gay marriage. You know, everyone went in an uproar about that. But I'm like, okay, A&E, for all honesty, A&E, you know what these guys' religious beliefs are. This is a surprise to you? Really?
Yeah,
these people are hardcore Christians, and you're surprised by the fact he considers homosexuality as sin. Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays, and you're amazed that the current head of Chick-fil-A is against gay marriage, and their company's closed on Sundays. You're like, oh my God!
But see, Matt, that in lies. But see, that in lies the whole situation. And then just let me clarify that I understand what A&E did, but I don't necessarily agree with it. But the thing is that,
and it's their right to do this, by the way.
Yeah,
as long as it doesn't violate the contract, as long as it's not a contract, and if it is, you pay these people out, you cancel the show, then go somewhere else. I'm sure there were an assload of cable networks that would be like, you can say whatever you want. This is money in the bank.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, but the thing is
that
that
offered them to go to Blaze, the Blaze.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
I pick up on that off. That would be a channel I think they'd be very good on.
But here's the thing, okay? A lot of these people that are coming out against it and everything, a lot of them, to be honest with you, probably have never watched a show in their entire life. A lot of them are just like, you know, like PETA does and all these other organizations, when they hear something about, you know, it's like automatic, you know, they tune in and they're like, oh my God, how dare you, and just start going on a rampage.
I remember the Christians, or the Catholics, and Dogma. You know, they're all out there protesting Dogma and saying that movie is a slight against Catholicism, when it's got a giant rubber poop monster. It all goes to hell at that point. Your argument is no longer valid. And mostly people never see this film. And that's how most of these stupid protests happen, is you've never watched a show, they make a comment in their private lives about something, you never even pay attention to do your own research, and all of a sudden you're up in arms about it.
Yep. And in the end, what happens? It ends up dying down. Those people that were protesting, it's their way of backpedaling. They're like, I could just not say nothing. It'll just go away.
We have been
No one ever,
successful. No,
no
you're
one will ever question my stupidity for a temporary moment there. It's all good. But the thing is that
not.
people need to check their attitudes at the door, because they need to understand that, you know, these are the kind of people they are. Okay, a lot of people were attacking, especially the whole. That's why I have a lot of liberal friends. I
do
believe
too.
in some. I'm kind of in the middle because I believe in some liberal agendas, but what I don't like is
There's a
the
difference between liberal and progressive, by the way.
right. Well, I know, and what I can't stand is the people that constantly have to attack Christians, on their own beliefs. It's like it's a double standard. It's like saying
No.
it's okay to believe in gay marriage, which I think gay marriage should be okay. I think everyone should have equal rights, and simple as that. But at the same time, it's like, why are you attacking this guy for
I don't
his
care
belief?
either way, but
You know what I'm
rather
saying?
indifferent on the situation.
Well, right, but it's
Um,
like, why attack?
I mean,
It's double standard,
yeah,
right?
I mean, a part of me, I'm raised Catholic, isn't for it, but a part of me is also like, hey, if you want to get married, that's fine with me.
I was
I'm,
too.
I'm,
Catholic,
yeah,
Roman Catholic.
I'm very pro-life, but at the same time, I am pro-choice. I know
Yep.
people are like, how can you do that? Well, I'd never have an abortion, but if you want to, that's fine with me. I don't care. Um, I think, and the thing is, 54% of America is currently in support of gay marriage. 54%, according to a recent Gallup poll. Uh, Granted, they said, like, I think 27 is against it, but at the same time, you're like, okay, if you're not for it, you're technically against it. I really do believe that. Okay, you can't be indifferent on this. You're either for it or you're not.
Yeah.
But in any case, 54% is for it. That means 54% is for. That's not majority. That's half. To me, unless you get to 60 or higher, you're not a majority.
Yeah.
And, that is half of America. But yet the media tries to spin this into how, for some reason now, if you're against gay marriage, you're the evilest, vilest son of a bitch on the planet.
Right. And that I don't.
No.
agree with.
Look,
Yeah.
it is a split issue, just like abortion. Abortion is a split issue in this country. In fact, only about half of America is for it. Half of America is for it under any condition or under certain circumstances. Only about 27, I think, were for it under any circumstance. And of course, I think like 24 was against it, outright. But still, that those numbers are somewhat similar. You're still trying to say that, gay marriage is a divisive issue, just like abortion. Yet at the same time, if you go out against abortion, you're a woman hater. You hate women.
Yeah.
No, that does not mean I hate women. I love women. Trust me, I love women. Ask my wife. We don't want to see them barefoot in the kitchen. That's not what abortion is about. Abortion is about the preservation of a life. Gay marriage, different, I granted. I mean, it's about, the right to live your life the way you want to. But at the same time, we are somewhat of a Christian there are a lot of Christians in this country that this is a key tenet in their religion. Sorry, it is. And that's not going to change. It's changed a lot in the last 20, 30 years. It has. I mean, we wouldn't even talked about this in the 80s. You would have skirted around this in the 90s. But nowadays you can talk about it freely and openly because it has become more accepted. And trust me, we will see gay marriage in this country be fully accepted in our lifetime. I have no doubt about that. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it will.
But it shouldn't be forced upon people to change their beliefs in this way or to punish people for believing this sort of thing. It's not yet a fully socially acceptable thing. And it's not going to be for a long time. It's like if I see some 90-year-old man walking or some old man walking around complaining about black people, you know what? He's a product of his generation. Now, if I see a 20-year-old man going around doing it, I would expect better.
Right.
Or 20, 30-year-old man. But, an elderly man in his 60s, 70s, or even 80s, yeah, you just write it off as he's a product of his times. It's like old cartoons. Why do you need to censor them? They are a product of their times. I don't care about blackface in Tom and Jerry. Most people don't. I don't care about the what's in a Bugs Bunny cartoon. They are a product of their times. And, that's how it works. So get over it. It's a product of its time. It was that way then. You should just realize that. I just don't understand why people want to. I understand why people are upset about it, especially people who are gay. I understand why they are upset about it. I perfectly understand. But at the same time, don't start down the path of hate because of it.
Yeah, it's like I hate to reference Star Wars, but it's like what does Yoda say that leads to the dark side?
Yeah.
Hate leads to anger. Anger leads to I forget.
Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering, or something like that.
Yeah, anyway, but yeah, it's a shame we don't know that by heart.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. There we go.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes sense. You don't want to. It's just like you were taught when you were younger. You don't want to. Two wrongs don't make a right.
Good tenant, do unto others as you do unto yourself.
Yeah,
something along those lines. But at the same time, if Robertson came out and said they all need to go in the oven and burn, okay, at that point you've gone way too far. There is a line you do not cross.
I just want to add to that because you brought up something that when I first heard about the story on the radio, and this is when I had to look into it further. When I finally actually was like, all right, I'll look into this. I'll start giving a shit. Is when they mentioned only a small part of it, and they made it sound like he was saying something worse than what he said. So I was like, that doesn't make sense because I don't watch the show, but I watched it once or twice, and I've
watched it a couple times.
I can't remember what the radio guy said, but he said something like he said something about hell, I can't remember exactly, but he made it sound real bad. So I looked and seen what he said, and honestly, what he said, he was joking around, clearly, but he was also being serious, saying, this is my belief.
He's a very folksy kind of guy.
He's a folksy kind of guy.
Talks.
And what I don't understand is that, again, going back to what I was saying before, it's a double standard. It's okay to joke around about, somebody saying how people are hip or bigots. People love throwing that word around. Oh, you're a bigot. Rah, 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 rah. Shame on you. You're a bigot. Look up the word bigot before you start throwing it around, because you yourself are a bigot for calling someone else a bigot.
Now,
if
you go up to somebody, and he kind of did do this. Now, if I go up to someone and say, "You're gay. I refuse to associate with you. You should die. You should burn in hell." Okay, you're a bigot at that point.
Yeah.
The Westboro Baptist Church is full of bigots.
Oh yeah, big
time. They are
Example.
bigots. Yes. The KKK is full of bigots.
Yeah.
Black
Panthers full of bigots.
Exactly. I don't know if there is one conversely on the Hispanic or Asian side or any other ones. Those are the only ones I know. But anyway, yeah, exactly. There are plenty of bigots, and there are in the world, and it's how it, sadly, people are inherently do not like things that are different from. They do not like things that are changed or that are different. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. It's weird, or not weird, but it's. I guess it's part of human nature, and it's a constant struggle with everybody to constantly just try and say, you know what, different isn't bad. And I think, and as a country, we have we have a black president. We have done much better in the last 40 years than we have. I know the news and the media would make you think differently, but we have gotten a lot better. I mean, I really don't think there's many people out there that really say, I don't like Obama because he's black. A lot of people don't like Obama because of his policies, but not because he's black.
Exactly.
But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think there are many people out there that go, I don't like you because you're gay. There are some. Well, not correction. I'm sure there are quite a few people. But it's not a majority, and it's not a large group of the population like did make it seem. But at the same time, conversely, I think as an individual, you have to be somewhat tolerant of people's opinions if you don't agree with it.
Yeah.
Because if you want them to be tolerant or acceptant of you, you have to be tolerant and acceptive of them conversely. You can't have it one way and not the other. If some guy goes up to me and goes, I don't like you because you're Polish, cool. I don't have to associate with you.
How dare you? Well, your dad says it all the time anyway.
Yeah, I don't. I don't want them. Fine, I won't associate with you. I have no problem with that. You know what? That's your problem, not mine. I won't have anything to do with you. That's fine. Same thing with Phil Robertson here. He doesn't like gay people. Fine. Don't watch the show. Don't buy his products. That's fine. That's your decision. But don't go on boycotts. Don't do these things. Don't go up there and try and force other people to feel guilty for supporting him because of his views. If they don't have a problem with it, they don't have a problem with it. Don't make your problem other people's problems.
Yeah, but Matt, you got to remember though, the boycott is there's two different boycotts. That's where the big conflict is that there's a boycott for gay rights that are saying this is a slight against gay rights, yada yada, and then the other side is boycotting A&E because they're impeding on his so-called First Amendment rights.
Yeah, and same time,
which
they're
not
both
First
wrong.
Amendment.
They're both
yeah,
wrong.
they're both wrong.
They are both wrong. Both are wrong in this effect, or in this instance. Both sides are wrong. You should not boycott unless it is something really egregious. Now, if they're going and killing people or something, or doing something, committing some crime, or committing something doing something really heinous, and you want to boycott them, child labor violations, I'd be like, yeah, that point, yeah, that's fine. Hell, I don't see anybody ever boycott Apple because of what they do in China. But everybody wants an iPhone. But, I understand those kinds of boycotts. But boycotts because of a different political or religious views, I'm sorry. I can't support that on either side. Mm-hmm. And both sides are wrong at this point. If you're boycotting them because of what they did to Phil Robertson, you're wrong. On either side. Whether it's because they kicked him off the air or if it's because of what he said. Yeah. If you personally want to not watch it, that's fine. But you shouldn't force others into doing it or try and convince others to do it because of your reasons or punish people who don't agree with you.
Exactly. It's supposed to be a free country after all, which that's another topic that we'll go into another time. But
yeah, I agree. And just so you know, I am not ignorant in saying, oh, there's no bigotry or racism in America. There is. But it doesn't play as big a factor anymore as it used to. It really does.
People need to get off their high horse and stop blaming everything on bigotry. I mean, it's not all... Or making an issue out of nothing. Or, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Once you pull the bigot racism card, the argument's over. Because there is no... I hate to say this. Whenever I get into a discussion with someone and you get to that point, that person lost the argument. Because you've just turned it into now a mudslinging match. You're not arguing, you're not debating, you're just trying to win by any means necessary.
Yep.
Which, by the way, if you ever hear that on this show, please feel free to call us out on it. I don't ever intend to go that route on this show.
Oh, yeah.
Unless it's an obvious case of that. And I mean, it better be a pretty darn obvious case.
Yeah, exactly.
So, our final topic of the night is going to be a topic that probably is sensitive to some people. And it involves gun control. Now, anybody who's read my Facebook posts over the past few years, and probably Chris's as well, knows that we're not really gun control advocates. But we're also not, I'm done my guns. No, we're not that. We're not that go there's hand. We're not that kind of people. I firmly believe that guns are a way to curb crime. The Second Amendment was put in there to allow us to protect ourselves from domestic and foreign threats, as well as to help us defend ourselves, not just from people, but from the government as well. Now, if the government decided to go, this dictator thing seems pretty good, the people can defend themselves.
Exactly. A lot of people forget that key part there.
Yeah.
Conveniently.
Granted, there are counter arguments that wasn't part of it, but most of the original founding fathers do agree with what it meant. But at the same time, I've seen lately a lot of people going up there going, well, all they are a bunch of gun nuts. They just love guns. They want to go out there hunting with Uzis. That only happens in the distinguished gentleman. No real hunter would ever try going hunting with a freaking Uzi. At the same time, I'm okay with a ban on automatic weapons. How about you?
Honestly, the ban on automatic weapons, I'm kind of in between on that, because on one side I can understand why you'd want to keep that ban, now, because why would you need an automatic weapon? It's kind of overkill, pardon the pun. Yeah. But at the same time also, people should have the right to, because I have a lot of family members that, we have a gun range, and, for our family, we have family members that collect several types of guns, from handguns all the way up. We have several family members that are, including my parents, my brother, that have concealed weapons license.
Real quick, gun collectors, guess what? Gun collecting is a real hobby. Just like video game collection, comic collecting. I've seen people collect swords. I've seen people collect some weird things. Gun collecting is a real thing. There's a lot of history in guns. Quit saying just because you like guns, you're like automatically a violent individual. You're not.
And you're not. There's a lot of...
In fact, gun collectors are the most respectful of guns out of anybody.
Well, yeah, I mean, and not only that, but I know a lot of people that are very calm individuals, just that type of person that have a lot of different types of guns. But the point is that knowing that being said, having a lot of family and friends around me, it's you should have the right, if you want to have an automatic weapon in a controlled environment and with respect and all that responsibility and so forth, that you should be able to have one. And that's where I think, the laws they have in place, they just need to enforce them more. And that's probably the biggest argument that I think most people with common sense has agreed upon, that there are laws already established. The laws work. I mean, there's always going to be loopholes, but the thing is that, if you enforce it, that lessens the chance, that just decreases the chance of there being loopholes,
My thing is, how many people commit a gun that actually got one legally?
That's the other thing, is that there's a lot of people that the ones that really are the problem are acquiring the weapons illegally. So, and that's why you got to enforce the laws.
Well, there's no way to prevent people from getting guns illegally unless you ban guns outright. And no, that is not an option, because they'll still find ways to get them illegally. Oh, watch Sons of Anarchy. They really do smuggle guns into this country. It happens all the time. Oh, we were smuggling guns into Mexico from the American government. Operation Fast and Furious. Guns will find their ways into the hands of criminals one way or another. The only thing is, you need to make guns accessible to the average individual.
Yep.
If you really look at some states, look at states that have high, gun murders overall. Okay, there's a lot of. Most of these states have some of the strictest gun laws out there. California has, in 2010, granted these are some of the old statistics, they had 1,257 murders by guns. They have some of the strictest gun laws in the nation. Granted, the next two are Texas and Florida. There's some of the, least strictest, but they're also highly populous states. New York's right after Florida, and they're also incredibly strict. Louisiana's pretty high up there, and they're very strict, and so is Illinois. Chicago has some of the worst crime in the country, and they are the strictest in the country when it comes to gun laws. Gun laws do not prevent crime. Washington D.C. was almost a demilitarized zone until they got rid of the handgun ban, and actually, violent crime went down after the gun ban or the handgun ban went away. Banning guns does not prevent crime. Controlling guns does not prevent crime that much. What prevents crime is to lessen the likelihood, or to increase the likelihood, that a criminal is going to get shot by committing the crime. There's a pretty good chance you're not going to commit the crime. Why do they go to schools and commit mass shootings? Why did the mass shootings happen in a naval yard? Because why in a movie theater? These are places where people will not be armed. Trust me, you're not going to find many people going into a Walmart and start shooting up a place, because there's a pretty good chance someone in Walmart's going to be carrying. Same thing in a mall. Same thing in a lot of places. There's a pretty good chance that somebody's going to be carrying, but nobody's going to be carrying in the school. Nobody's going to be carrying in a movie theater. Nobody could carry on that naval yard, except unless you're a member of the MPs or something, or you're on duty. That's how it works. These guys, I remember reading some stories about how, this dude back in like the old days tracked down this guy across the country, found him in like some schoolhouse in Texas or something, went in to shoot the guy, and what happened? The dude got blown away by the students because they were all armed. That's right, students with guns. Guns are something that you need to be taught at a young age to respect. They are a dangerous weapon and not a toy. But at the same time, if you teach people how to use them correctly, it doesn't matter. They're not going to try and use them incorrectly. But at the same time, that is a point of trying to instill in your family and in your children morals and ethics. Don't make them into be criminals. It's people being raised to be criminals that is the problem, not the gun. The gun is a tool of the criminal, but it is not the only tool. You don't remove the tool to prevent someone from doing something.
Yeah, I'll never understand
Try and
the
fix
logic.
the real problem.
I'll never understand the logic behind these people that say, "Oh well, we need to get rid of guns entirely." Like people like Piers Morgan, who are like,
it's because of this faux argument that in these countries where they have stricter gun laws, there's less violence. That's a coincidence. Mm-hmm. America we are a decadent nation, but at the same time, I know we don't America decadent nation. But at the same time, we tend to we glorify violence. We are a much more violent culture than most countries. Take a look at our television and our video games and our media. It's all about violence everywhere. The most popular shows on TV are all about violence.
That's right.
Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy, Walking Dead. These are all violent TV shows. The most selling video game of the year, what is it?
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Which is easily one of the most... I think it's the highest selling video game of all time right now. Or pretty close to it. But I know it's the fastest selling game of all time. These are games that let you, in media, that let you embrace this violent criminal culture. Now, I'm no way saying, these need to be banned. No, not at all. But that's how our society is. These games wouldn't be popular, or these TV shows wouldn't be popular if that's not the way people, sadly, were thinking. And at this point, they're like, you know what? It desensitizes you to these actions. Mm-hmm. It really does.
Yep.
And people, if you got a few screws, if you got some screws loose, or you're in an impoverished society, you're in an impoverished area, you have no money, no nothing, you're going to turn to crime, and guess what? Your number one tool is probably going to be a gun. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, me having that gun prevents that person from using that gun against me. And that's what people need to realize. Guns are a means of self-defense in any situation. If somebody breaks into my house, I'm going to shoot them. And guess what? I don't care if you have a knife, a baseball bat, or a rubber chicken. I'm going to shoot because I need to protect my family at all costs.
That's right. Yeah, just more people need to learn to respect it.
Rant mode off.
Yeah, I know. People just need to learn how to respect the weapon. They need to learn how to use one. I think a lot of people, if there's anyone listening to this show that believes, oh, it should just be banned, get rid of guns entirely, I give you this challenge. Go out there, go to a gun range. They let you use. They have weapons there. They let you use. You can get something simple. Let you shoot off a few rounds. Have someone. You could even go as far as have someone, actually train you, whatever. But actually fire off a couple rounds, and then sit down and actually talk to somebody that is a professional that deals with weapons, or even a law enforcement officer, and listen to their side of it. And I'm telling you, and most people who are really staunch about, get rid of weapons entirely, they'll never do this. They'll never do it. And the reason why they won't do it is because they know if they do it, it's going to challenge all their preconceptions about weapons and all that. Their whole idea, because a lot of people feel like I need to hold on to this ideal because it's an extension of me. And therefore, if I say that what I believe in is wrong, then I'm wrong, and that's part of the whole self-entitled douchebag society that we live in now. This new generation that thinks that, I can't be wrong in anything. If I stand up for what I believe in, I'm standing up for my beliefs, and that's a good thing. But they're missing the whole point. There's certain things that don't really fall in that category, and this is one of them. Weapons are not going anywhere. You can ban all of them, and guess what? There's still going to be criminals getting weapons illegally, and guess what? You're going to be screwed when one shows up at your doorstep. And if you think it'll never happen, well, guess what? It doesn't have to be your doorstep. You could be out the mall. You could be out shopping. You could be going to the dentist. I mean, you could be anywhere and it could happen. So to sit here and think, it's just, these people think that they're oblivious to these things happening. I mean, it's just ignorance. There's no other way to put it,
Oh, yeah. I think another argument I hear for people that are usually anti-gun is, and this is an argument I hate hearing, and I really hate it. They compare it to penis envy, or measuring your penis.
Yeah.
Really, people? No, it's not. Are there people that do consider it to be an extension of their penis? Metaphorically, yeah. I'm sure there are. But it is not majority of gun owners. Most gun owners own guns because either A, they are collectors, and they collect guns because they are interested in the technology. They love guns. They love shooting them. They love the technology behind them. They love the history. That's what they like them. Same thing with me in video games. I love video games. Does it mean I'm a kid? No. I just love the technology. I love playing video games. I love it. Same thing with comic collectors. You're not a child just because you're a comic collector. You don't collect guns just because you want to shoot somebody. You collect guns because you have a love for guns. And it isn't indicative of having penis envy or anything else. It isn't. I hate to say this. That's another freaking lie. Oh, and you mentioned Piers Morgan earlier. Oh, if there was one man I loathe more in the media more than him, other than Chris Matthews, it's probably him.
Yeah. Yeah, just spewers of shit. Pure shit. That's all they do is just spew pure shit. Yeah. But you know what it boils down to, that this whole deal is that stereotypes. People need to really sit back and realize, okay, maybe I'm just stereotyping. Because and you are. If you don't realize it, you are. I hate to tell you, but you are. Because if you immediately assume that a person who collects a gun is some backwoods redneck, I'm gonna shoot everything that moves, then you're stereotyping. Because it's not everyone's like that. I know so many people that you would not, if I told you had a gun and loved guns and collected them and all that, was serious into them, and you met them, you'd be like, oh, there's no way that person does that.
No,
And that's where the stereotype comes in.
Like we said earlier, Duck Dynasty probably doesn't help in quelling that stereotype.
Well, no, they don't. But that's why there's acceptable stereotypes. Okay, they're understandable.
There are no acceptable stereotypes.
Well, no. Hear me out. What I'm saying is acceptable. I hate stereotypes. Okay, but when I say acceptable, I mean like.
Dude, you are a stereotype.
Oh, shut up. They're understandable. They're understandable, meaning that you can understand why someone would stereotype. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just you can understand where it comes from. It's probably a better word than acceptable.
Understandable stereotypes. Yeah. You know, just because you like to go hunting doesn't mean you want to just go out and kill things. How do you think you got food in the grocery store? That meat in the grocery store, yeah, it didn't die of natural causes. It was killed. Yeah. The only difference is rather than going to a grocery store and killed something that was, killed in a farm, and you instead go out and do it yourself. Hey, before there were grocery stores, that's what you used to do. You used to go out and hunt. Hunting is not wrong. It's not. For those of you who are anti-hunting, most of them don't eat meat. So your argument isn't valid. But if you eat meat and you're against hunting, you make no sense to me, because how do you think you get the meat in your table?
Yeah.
I'm not a hunter. Yeah. I don't hunt. I really don't. I don't hunt. But you know what? I have no problem with hunters. As long as you don't hunt around my house, because I don't want a stray bullet coming near it. I have no problem with hunters. Or with hunting. It is not only is it a sport, it is a way of getting food. And considering meat prices these days, hunting's not such a bad idea.
Yeah, no kidding.
But
$6 for a pound of meat. I mean,
right.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly. But getting back on topic, you're trying to... Everybody's trying to make these gun owners into being some sort of gun-crazed nut jobs. Most of these guys that got guns, like the shooter in Aurora got his gun from I think it was his uncle. I don't remember exactly.
It was a relative, yeah.
Same thing with the Columbine kids. They got their kids from people that got them legally. And they obtained them technically illegally by stealing them. Mm-hmm. But if they weren't going to get them from them, they would have found some other way of getting them. These people will always find a way to accomplish their goals one way or another. They go to the internet and made a fertilizer bomb instead of making a gun, and probably would have killed more people. Mm-hmm. There are always other means. The best offense is a good defense.
Oh yeah.
I know a lot of people are also like, well, that's why cops have guns. You know how long it takes for you know what? When someone breaks into my house, they can kill me and rob my house in probably 10 minutes. It takes longer than that for the cops to get here.
Yep.
It takes a while for cops to respond. Cops are limited resources. Cops are there to help prevent crime, but at the same time, they aren't able to be everywhere at once. There isn't a cop per person in this country.
Yeah.
There isn't a cop per person in a county or in a city. Hell, the city I live in, I live in a sheriff's territory, but then Plant City proper, where you live, there are 44 cops. That's not a lot.
It's not a lot of cops, considering, there's a lot
size
of
people. Plant City.
Yeah.
And, ironically, I don't know of much crime in Plant City because everybody has a gun.
Yeah. Yeah, the crime rate's really low.
Would you break into somebody's house in Plant City?
That'd be pretty stupid, because 9 times out of 10, somebody's going to have a gun, more than likely. Because I think I read somewhere that Plant City is in the top list in the state of Florida for most concealed weapon license holders out of any city.
And if you live in our area, Plant City is considered dare town, redneck town. But you know what? It's pretty darn safe. I feel pretty safe in Plant City.
Yeah.
If I go about 20 miles east and go to Lakeland, no.
Not so much.
Considering a couple years ago, there was a shooting in the mall. It was gang related, and it was, I believe it turned out to be some sort of gang initiation. But still, there was a shoot. And Polk County's the joke for don't go there, you will get shot.
Pretty much.
That's the stereotype in Polk County. it is dangerous in that county. And we've been there. We used to go there a lot, and trust me, it's a very dangerous area. But at the same time, I don't know of many people there that have guns, at least in Lakeland. I know people outside of Lakeland that do, and there's not much crime there. Most of the crime centered in the city areas.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you know somebody has a gun, and you know there's a chance you're going to get shot, you're going to be far, far more discouraged from doing something than you would be if you know they are not armed.
Yeah.
Guns don't cause crime. Guns prevent crime.
No. And more people realize this, the better off we'll be. But there's always going to be people out there that just don't get it. And they're just going to be in the dark, for the rest of their lives, I guess. But
I'm not going to say they're in the dark, but I think that the media has always spun up the media always tells you when guns go bad, but never tell you when guns go good.
Yeah.
I actually read The Blaze a lot. It's owned by Glenn Beck, and I'll be like, oh my God, Glenn Beck. Look, seriously, don't talk about Glenn Beck if you never listened to the guy for more than a week. The dude makes sense. Yeah, he's a Bible toter. Take that stuff with a grain of salt. But the guy makes a good point, and he's honest. I actually believe him to be honest. And he runs a news site that actually publishes not only the bad, but the good. He'll post stuff when guns go bad, but he posts when someone breaks in somebody's house and a 12-year-old child blows the dude away with a shotgun. Yeah. Yes, that's been an article quite a few times. It shows guns being used correctly and being used responsibly the way they were supposed to be used. But you never see that on TV. You know how many people have to die for it to be considered a mass shooting?
How many?
4.
4?
4.
Mass shooting. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, 4.
But the thing is, you're not going to hear about failed mass shootings because nobody got shot, so it's not a mass shooting. But you'll hear about the mass shooting.
Oh, yeah.
And I know a lot of people are like, oh, things are more violent now than ever before. Actually, things were a lot worse in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
You just didn't hear about it as much because we didn't really have a 24-hour news cycle like we do now.
Yeah, lack of social media.
Social media, no CNN, no MS. There was no CNN until the 80s. The 70s I think the 70s and 80s were our 2 worst decades when it comes to mass gun violence. I have to pull the statistics again, but I do remember the 70s to 80s being the worst in history in this country. And this, now granted, we're not at the best, but we're nowhere near those numbers. Or we're not close to those numbers anymore. But we're still, the only reason it seems to be worse is because where before your media was the newspaper, the radio, your local news, after a while those national stories would be put in the back burner for other stories. But nowadays you have so many different news and media outlets that you can give these things more coverage. And of course, if it bleeds, it leads. So they're going to put more emphasis on this. And gun control is always a hot button topic. So if you want to get people to tune into your station, start talking about gun control, you're going to get people more watching.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all a political game. You see these politicians go up there talking about gun control. They don't give a shit. They really don't. Except for the ones who are, anti-gun control. I think those guys do care. Because they really don't want gun control. But in reality, they know this is all political posturing. It's always political posturing. It is nothing more than that. And I really don't think that half these people that say, oh, guns need to be controlled, really do believe it. I think they're more like, this can give me political points. I can turn this tragedy into votes. It's sad, but true. It's political gaming.
Yep.
And that's all it is. It's nothing more than a freaking joke.
Yep.
So don't fall for it, people. Do your research. Don't believe the lies. Do your own research. Do your own investigations. Come up with your own opinions. Don't rely on others to tell you what to believe. I know it's hard work. Stay away from PolitiFact.com, by the way. That place is a freaking dive. Anyways, back on topic. Sorry, went on your rant there. But do your own research, find your own facts, and make your own judgment calls and opinions. Don't let other people don't let Piers Morgan or Bill O'Reilly make up your mind for you. Make it up yourself. Or Chris Matthews. Or even Glenn Beck or Rush Limbaugh. Don't let these guys make your decisions for you. Do your own research and come up with your own opinions. If you think guns are the cause of violence because you have statistics to back it up and you did your own research, you know what? I respect you. I disagree with you, but I respect you. Well, if you just do it because the people on TV told you so, either way, I don't have any respect for you.
Yeah.
So that wraps up our first show of political gaming. Or is it gaming politics? What the hell is the name of our show?
You idiot. It's gaming politics.
Cardi came up with the idea, or with the show name. Gaming politics. You know, one of these days I'll probably remember a name of our own new show. Where can they find you, Chris?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. Just search up Chris Kovacs, or you can also look for Cardi. You can also find me on Twitter, but I'm hardly on there. But it's me, Cardi, and also our Facebook page. We're gonna get that up pretty soon. So where can we find you at, Matt?
You can find me at AdmiralJoker.com once it's working. I am on Twitter as Admiral Joker as well. You can find me on Facebook at Matthew Maciejewski. If you can't spell it, don't worry. Go to look up Chris's. You can probably find me there. Also do a search for Admiral Joker. You may find it that way as well. If you have any comments or want to say anything about our show, please feel free to post something on Facebook once we put this up. We'll set up email addresses and things later. We just, considering the topics today, we kind of spun up this show on really short notice. Well, this show is more of an episode 0.1. It's more of a beta show than a finalized product. But we wanted to get out there and start talking about these as soon as possible. So, if you have any any topics you want us to discuss or anything, please drop us a line. We'll be glad to hear about it.
Definitely.
All right. So have a good night.
Yeah, see you guys.